the October 8th Board of Trustees meeting. The district is in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act by notifying the media of the date, time, and place of the meeting. The district tapes the meeting for accuracy in preparing the minutes. I now yield the floor to Dr. Brent Powers.
Madam Chair, fellow board members, staff, and guests, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Henson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the motion carries. All right, thank you all for being here this evening. This is one of our special meetings every year during which we do the superintendent's evaluation and also the board self-assessment, also known as the board self-evaluation. So the first thing on the agenda is talking about a review of the Board of Trustees goals. And as you know, so we started talking about these goals. We brainstormed these goals last year at this meeting. And thanks to the wonderful facilitation of Ms. Kimberly Freeman, she was able to synthesize those and create some draft goals for us that we looked at and reviewed and refined during the spring, and then adopted those in January as part of lead up to the strategic plan, kind of the board's role in setting the path for the strategic plan. And so what we're going to do right now for just a few minutes is kind of look back. We've really only lived with these for, 8 months at this point in time, but kind of look at them and just, just a quick, thoughts on these goals. How are they applicable to us now in October? What does this look like going forward? A little bit of future casting as far as, how the board is going to kind of grow into these goals. Goals are not something that, you reach immediately. They're long-term, and so, maybe talk about a few intermediate milestones. I know we indicate on there that the board will define indicators that model systemic professional practices, and so maybe just throw some ideas out about maybe what some of those indicators are that we can use to more clearly define what these goals look like so that we know when we've met them, because that's what the indicators are for, is to know, how do you know when you've met these goals? So any thoughts from anyone?
As far as it relates to the 5 goals?
Yes, ma'am.
So when I read through these, the first one that popped out is number 5, because I think that's one that we are already doing, establishing a constructive culture that honors the kindness, civility, and effective communication of all members of the Greater Lexington One community. And so that was the first thing that popped out to me. I know number 4 says to keep a laser focus by executing a well-defined 5-year strategic plan. We've defined a 5-year strategic plan. Now I think next year this time we'll be able to more properly evaluate the execution of that.
Thank you, Ms. Henson. Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
I guess the thing that jumped out to me is the second one: support a working environment where employees have the tools needed and experience joy in their daily work while growing as effective leaders. I know we spent a lot of time manipulating that one and giving input on it, but I really think in the realm of teacher retention, employee retention, just people feeling that they want to be a part of Lexington One itself, whether it's their student going there or being a parent or teacher. That was one that really jumped out to me, is we can help set the tone for, we have an environment where we listen to people, whether, sometimes what we hear is we may disagree, we may agree, and sometimes we have to agree to disagree. But I think it was really important for us to support that type of environment within our schools and within our community, that, hey, you have the tools that you need to be effective, but you also feel like you're supported to a point you can experience joy in saying, hey, what I'm doing actually counts and somebody actually cares. So I really like that one.
And to piggyback off of that, Mr. Rice, I think that Dr. Postlewaite and Dr. Price are helping with that as far as the part with experiencing joy in their daily work. There have been instances where teachers and employees have expressed concerns, and I love that you guys have already started going out into schools and spending a day in a room where employees can come and talk. And I know for one example, there was an employee that had some concerns and reached out, and Dr. Price, you went and met for like 30 minutes with her at her school. And so I think through our goals, our superintendents are able to meet those needs too. Does that make sense?
A little bit along that vein, something that I think is so important and takes some adjustment for some folks coming onto a board like this is that understanding your roles and the role that we are performing as a board is setting a vision, setting those goals, establishing policy, but the work is done by the superintendent and all the people working within our district, all our teachers. That's the work. So in order for us to be successful in our goals, we start and set the vision, but the work is done by the people who are on the ground. And so I will say that I feel like we have made great gains in these goals because of the work that our superintendent and the central services and our teachers have been doing. For example, that laser focus on KPIs. I mean, we're starting a new 5-year plan, but we're already seeing some work by Dr. Postlewaite and Dr. Price and folks to kind of align the day-to-day work that our teachers are doing with the systemic work that our central service is doing with the KPIs that we want to see the outcomes to. It's all got to work together, and you have to have a very systems-type mentality and approach to be able to be effective at that. And I think, again, key is having the right people in the right seats on the bus. We talked about that last time, and we're doing a good job of trying to make sure that that's in place so that we can be effective with these goals. And part of being a leader and a vision caster is setting that culture, and it's important for us to be doing that, and I think we're doing a good job of that. But one thing I'll have to say, and I've seen that this definitely through the hurricane that came through, something I said when I ran for school board is that our magic secret sauce is our people. And we have great people to get us towards these goals, and we're doing it together, and I'm proud to be a part of this district for that.
And I want to piggyback on what Beth said. So when I was looking at reading through the goals again, I was like, okay, for one, yay us, because these are good. But two, I think what you've said is important about our role as a board and our goals. I think, so the words that are in there are framework, environment, culture, strategic plan. Those are high level. That's our role, is to make sure that the atmosphere, the structure is there so that all the folks that work in the district can do the work, because all of the work, for continued professional practices in their daily work, of the mission, including evaluation. There are a lot of prepositional phrases there. Those are all modifiers for the higher level work, the higher level vision that we set. And so I think that there's just a real good hand and glove picture there of what our role is in ensuring that there is the framework, the culture, the environment, the atmosphere in which our staff can do their work and do it in a joyous, healthy, productive, effective way. So,
I guess I'll add one other thing. You mentioned framework, so you directed my attention back to number 3. about defining a clear financial framework aligned with purity of mission, including evaluation of current operational resources. Being an operational manager, that kind of hits near and dear to my heart, but I like that in terms of us casting a vision, like you said, Ms. Green, where we said it needs to be a clear financial framework. So I know our financial staff has done a lot with trying to say, hey, here's how we actually get paid, here's how we do our budgeting, here's how each individual school does their budgeting. I think that has become a lot more clear to the board, but I think aligned with that goal is help to make it a lot clearer to the public as to, hey, this allocation was here at this school, but things have changed and the allocation changed. We had to spend some time going through that. I appreciate Dr. Postlewaite and Ms. Miller and Dr. Price just helping us to frame that, helping us to explain that to the public, also yielding, that's yielded questions that we've gotten from the community. Some of our folks have gotten up at citizens participation and asked some questions about that, and we've been able to address some of those things. So I think it's becoming more clear to us. I think it's even becoming more clear to the public and more clear to our teachers. Obviously, we need to continue with that, with those marching orders, and that's why it's a goal. But I think we've done a good job of letting people see what we're doing. Now with this facility study that we have coming up, it's going to help us start looking at operationally, where are we with our HVAC units, where are we with our buildings, our infrastructure. So I think a lot of the work that we're already doing is helping to keep us on target for that number 3 goal.
Does anybody have any thoughts about what they think is the most difficult goal to sustain going forward?
I think number 5, because you can't control what the community is going to do. We're in a society right now where everything is so polarized, and I can say the sky is blue and somebody wants to argue with me about whether it's red or white. We cannot control that, but I think if we can set up a culture where they understand, it reminds me of an older lady that used to be in our church, and sometimes we would get people that would get, I guess, a little overzealous in expressing their opinions, and especially with the pastor. And she would take them aside at the end of service, and she would say, we don't do that here, baby. So, I know nobody's a baby or whatever, but what I'm just saying is, I think if people understand when I step through the doors of Lexington 1, whether it's a school or whether it's a district office or whether it's a school board meeting, you understand there's a certain level of decorum, kindness, civility, effective communication that you use. And a lot of times I've seen people where they're the type, they're always trying to pick a fight, but they realize when I'm in this place, now's not the time to pick a fight. I'm not saying that there's not a fight, but you just understand, here's how we need to engage within this environment. But I still think that's probably the hardest one, because you can't control what the community around you is doing, but you can try and control the culture that you live in and work in.
Anybody else? Any comments about the board of trustees' goals?
2 things. First thing is to answer your question, our district is in the business of people. We teach people, we employ people. That's what we are. We don't produce materials and sell things. We're in the business of people. And I think some of these things are hard because different people have different interpretations of what experiencing joy in their daily work is. And so that's a challenge to you guys and your staff to feel out and see what's best for the majority of the people. So I think your question about which one is the hardest, I think that's probably hard for Dr. Postlewaite and her people. But as far as our goals, next thing, do we need to, I noticed at the bottom there's a little asterisk that says the board will define indicators that model systemic professional practices. For number 1, do we need to discuss that, or?
Yes.
Okay. So number 1 says, build effective working relationships and establish the framework that positions the board for continued systemic professional practices. So we need to define those indicators.
Yeah, I think we had started trying to do that somewhat with that code of excellence, if you will. And I think we're kind of at the point where we would decide, do we want to formalize something like that? And if so, how do we want to go about doing that? So kind of toss that out to the group. Do we want to continue conversation about the code of excellence? Do we think that engenders what this is indicating? Do we think that would be effective towards meeting particularly the first goal?
Anybody, any thoughts? I think you're right, and the Code of Excellence, we kind of stalled on that a little bit.
I think Ms. Roof was taking it to some groups,
I think that's right.
right?
There she is.
She's gonna hate us.
Right on time.
Ms. Roof, Ms. Shealy brought up the Code of Excellence that we had looked at, I think, was it last spring?
In the spring.
It was in the spring. And I think at one point, were you taking it to some different subgroups? I know we kind of paused.
Actually,
Is there any,
I think we tabled it.
did we just table it?
I think we just tabled it till for the
Okay.
summer.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Have a good enough year in the headlights look.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm afraid. I would have to go back and check my notes. to
Okay.
Confirm, but I thought
We had,
it's not at the top of my mind for what we're doing that I would say.
Yeah, I think that it was June, I think the last time we talked about it, and we were like, let's wait until September or October, and then we just haven't picked it back up yet. And it may be one of those things now that since this board set these goals, that maybe the new board sets the indicators, maybe they speak into this through establishing those indicators. That might be a good way to help, get some ownership there and make that, applicable to what the new board looks like in November. Not that I'm trying to kick the can down the road, but. Yeah. Anybody, any other thoughts on that? Any other ideas of what might be other indicators? Because to me, the Code of Excellence is important, but it's a little bit of a soft indicator. And so, and to me, I think maybe the 360 review, if that's a ongoing practice, I think that's a good way. And maybe this was the first year with that, but maybe expanding what that looks like, because that would give, because we're talking about our professional practices as a board, but we're creating a framework through which our practices are replicated, I think, through the district. And so maybe the 360-degree review is another indicator that might help speak into the success of that goal.
I have a nagging thought, and it might seem like it comes out of left field, but one thing, and I mean, everything that everyone said so far, I completely agree with, and I am very proud of this board. I do feel like we've done a really good job at effectively, having working relationships. I feel like I can pick up the phone at any moment and call any one of you, and you would answer, and we'd have a great conversation, and we'd work something out, and we'd, make it happen. But one thing that I feel, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. One thing that I would like to see moving forward is some kind of framework, if you will, for the board to have some, help me, I know I've talked with you about this, some kind of say or collaboration in how to get certain topics on the agenda. I think that's been like something that, has been talked about for a long time. And, I know we all hear from different people in the community for different reasons. I'm sure my people that call me are not calling you, Beth, or you, we all have our people that call us for different reasons. And when I get, multiple phone calls about the same topic that maybe needs to be shared at a meeting, I would like to be able to, write that down on my list and maybe, throw that in the hat and say, hey, and, can 2 board members contribute one topic that we feel is important enough to bring forward? And then, I think that's something I would like to see us do as a systemic professional practice. That's what it speaks to me.
And I think that ties in with number 4, where it talks about keeping a laser focus on the key performance indicators by executing a well-defined 5-year strategic plan. And so those things, if we can tie them into our strategic plan and.
Because Beth, I feel like you have maybe a little different view of how the board operates than maybe I do. Because we have different folks that speak to us on a weekly basis. And I can so appreciate your view of it. But for me, I feel like I'm a little bit more boots on the ground. Like I just hear from, I don't know why that is. Maybe you do hear from a lot of people every day. But anyways, I feel like, I would like to have a little bit of, I'd like to hear what you're hearing from the community as well, and I think it's important that we don't get lost in all of the paperwork and the finite details of what, makes this district run, that we should also have some say in those topics. I'm rambling, so.
No, I think you bring up some very valid points, and I can share with you that one thing that I've really had to learn as a board member is that you really have 2 constituents, two people that you're kind of speaking to. Is that you've got the district that you're trying to help set these visions and these goals for and working with them on that. But then you also have a community, you're getting input, but you're also educating the community. And so what I have found a lot of what I do is, because when the community comes to me more often, they're asking questions about detail operational things. And so I find myself often educating on, okay, here is where in the district you go to get those things addressed, or who you need to be talking to. Or let me tell you a little bit more about what our vision is, and it may help clarify for you your understanding of kind of what you're experiencing. So it's kind of, you have a dual role in a sense. And so I think that is part of how to figure out how to be effective, is if we are constantly in the weeds and dragging our senior leadership into all these different weeded areas, they can't focus on the higher level direction and systemic items that they need to address. And I kind of think about it like, this is probably a bad analogy, but I think about different airplanes flying over a field. And your teachers are flying the lowest, and they're addressing the students, and they have more of an individual contact. And then you've got school leadership and administrators. They're flying a little bit higher. So they don't know every little student what's going on. The teachers do. But they have more of a kind of higher level feel of what's going on with the classes. And then you've got central services. They're flying a little higher. They've got a general feel what's going on with schools. They definitely don't know what's going on with individual students, maybe not individual teachers. And then our superintendent's flying even higher, and the board is way up in the stratosphere. And in order to be effective at each level, you have to stay with the details of that level. And when we start having our superintendent address individual student issues, and we are getting down into individual school issues, that takes our view off of our strategic goals and visions that we've got to be creatively thinking about and making sure we're all moving in that direction. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally does. And I can totally understand that is how you see it. And I appreciate that, because I think that a board needs you, and a board needs me, and a board needs Kathy, and a board needs Chris. We all have our view of things, and that's great. And that's what makes us such a great board. So thank you for that.
Well, and I think, sorry, go ahead. And I think kind of bridging the two viewpoints. I think that a real opportunity for board members is we have an incredible benefit of a weekly phone call with these two very busy but highly qualified superintendents. And to me, because the administration creates the agenda, and then they meet in consultation with the board chair and the vice chair just to iron it out and, work it out ahead of the meeting. And so, to me, the best avenue for that is during a weekly phone call with the superintendent, say, hey, I really would like to get this on an agenda in the next couple weeks or next couple meetings. And say, and I've talked to another board member who agrees that this might be worth having a public conversation. Can we get this on the agenda? And then they will then, because to have a meeting, an item on the agenda requires a lot of bandwidth from staff, because they don't just, it's not just a cold turkey talk. They come in with all, the data and the preparation and the slides and all, the experts and things to be able to make sure that the district is providing the knowledge and the perspective and the context for whatever is on the agenda. And so then it becomes kind of a hand-in-hand thing between board members and the administration to get those things on the agenda so that conversation is effective, and not, because when we talk about it in the board meeting, yes, it may be a specific, smaller, on-the-ground thing, but the board's conversation needs to be here, not here. And so getting that bridge, I think, is something that issue then flows through the superintendent phone calls, and it may be something that, like, we've got a full meeting coming up in the next couple of months. Can we put it in the board brief instead? Or can we just get some data and address it that way? But I don't think you would ever be rebuffed and say, well, no, we're not going to put that on the agenda. It's, hey, let's get the, we'll see if we can get that on the agenda. Or, hey, we've got this other item coming up that is related to. Can we embed that conversation in with, whatever, maybe it's something, I don't know, cheer related. You embed it in some sort of athletics conversation. But some way so that the conversation stays at the level, because we're not the fixers. We're the ones that people call when they want something fixed, but we're not the actual fixers. They're the well, actually, it goes to them, and then they delegate it to the fixers. And so we just need to make sure that the conversations we have are appropriate at the board level for solving the things that are 6 or 7 levels below where the board actually has their hands. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. It makes
So
sense.
I think that there is a mechanism that probably has not been used to the extent that it could be, is to use, the opportunity you have, because, any board member can suggest any agenda item, but just do it so that, because, out of courtesy, usually it would take a month or 2 months of forewarning for the administration to be able to prepare for, and also our agendas are pretty much, if I asked right now, generally what's on the agenda for March, they could produce a draft agenda for our March meeting now, just because that's how far in advance they've got things scheduled and calendared out on the agenda. So I think there's a way to make it so that the board is addressing it in the way the board should appropriately handle it, but also because we are the ones that constituents call for the things that we don't get called about framework. We get called about, why has nobody edged the sidewalk at Midway? Those are the things that they call us about.
So with the election coming up, it makes me kind of, I guess, remember the things that I ran on. And now that I've been on the board for 2 years, I know there's a couple things that I've been talking about for almost 2 years now. And that one thing would be grades, and I know I kind of try to bring that up every meeting in some form or fashion. The other thing would be, Chris and I know we both kind of talked about this when we ran, was, financial audit. And I know I've spoken to every single one of y'all about both of those things in the last 2 years. And so I just feel like, it hasn't made on the agenda. I would just like maybe to see something that maybe we make a policy or something to where, the board as a whole, we can have some sort of framework for, important high-level things like that we would like to see on the agenda in some sort of time frame. That's all. Yeah.
Thank you. Of course. Anyone else? The board goals? All right. Y'all ready for part 2 of our self-assessment. All right. I'm going to invite Dr. James Ann Shealy up, and I have a little bio to read because she's wonderful, and so she gets a good introduction. So Dr. James Ann Lynch Shealy retired after 45 years in public education, having had the opportunity to serve as Assistant Superintendent for Academics in Richland School District 2, Assistant Superintendent for Schools, Chief Planning and Initiatives Officer, Director of Elementary Schools in Lexington District 1, and Principal of Lugoff Elementary, North Springs Elementary, and Founding Principal of Lake Carolina Elementary School in Richland District 2. Dr. Shealy holds a bachelor's degree from Newberry, a master's degree and master's plus 30 from Winthrop, and an Ed.D. from Nova Southeastern University. Dr. Shealy has received numerous awards and honors, the National Millikan Educator Award and the SCASA Lifetime Achievement Award, just to name a few. Dr. Shealy is a wonderful collaborator and consultant for districts across the state, and we are very happy to have her with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Such an honor to be with you tonight. I just want to share with you, as I've prepared and worked through the documents that I've received, it's very obvious to me that you're very intentional with your work and with what you do. And even as I sat and listened to your conversation about your board goals, it's even more apparent that you're so intentional about your work. So I just want to congratulate you and thank you for that, because in reality, that's not the norm. And I'm very proud and honored and thankful to be here tonight to help facilitate the results of your survey. Now, when I was a principal and throughout my leadership opportunities, I had 3 signature books. One was titled Fish, which is an old book. It's about working together as a team. One was Jonathan, which is All Means All. We take care of all children, not just school board members' children, not just PTO presidents' children, but all means all. And the third one was Spyglass, which is seeing what can be and working together to make that happen. And that's what I feel like your Lexington 1 school board has done. You've seen what could be, and you've worked together to make that happen. So here you are, getting ready for your self-assessment, and you used the Lexington 1 profile of the graduate to develop questions for the people you were surveying to answer. Definitions of those various components of the profile. And you were very specific with the people you were surveying about what you hoped to accomplish. And in fact, one of the emails that Ms. Halliday sent reminding people to finish their survey was very intentional with saying this will be used for our school board use to grow and to determine any areas that they may want to improve in. So it actually said build on strengths and address areas of improvement. I want to applaud you for the fact that you did what you said you were going to do. To me, that's one of the biggest ways to build trust, is follow up and follow through. You say you're going to do it, you do it, and that's what you did. So you surveyed your people. Now, the very first chart that you're going to see gives you the big picture, the overall framework. We use the Likert scale, or y'all use the Likert scale, 1 through 4, 4 being strongly agree, 1 being strongly disagree. So that's your first chart results. What do you notice? Remembering 4 is the highest. What do you notice? Now is not the time to be humble.
What I notice is all the scores are above 3. So again, like or strongly like. And there's obviously some variation in that, but across the board, there are very positive scores.
And Ms. Henson, the highest score is 3.6. And the lowest score is 3.1.
So they're all very similar scores, too. There's not much variation.
I think it's interesting that the the high and the low are both, I guess, learning related. I guess maybe we're future ready literate is low because we're older than a lot of the, I don't know. Maybe that's a commentary on our age. Maybe it's a commentary on my age and Mr. Anderson, so.
What else do you notice?
I'm very proud that the kindness and collaboration are so high. Because I think that's one of the things that we have been extremely purposeful about the last 2 years together.
And Ms. Green, if I can add to that, just so that our audience who's viewing from home realizes that this is the first time you've seen this. And in your conversation that you had just a few minutes ago, did you not hear the word, I think it was Ms. Henson who talked about goal number 5, the kindness, the working together. Mr. Rice echoed that same thing. So I think this big picture shows you that.
And like you said, this is our first time seeing this. One thing, though, that also stands out to me, although the scores are close, the next to last one is communicator. And so that immediately makes me think that's something that we need to work on because they put that towards the bottom. So, not, yeah.
I would invite us to remember this big picture. Okay, remember that's your big picture. Now let's go just a step farther and see what it really does look like when it's broken apart. Remembering that this is the first time you've seen this. Senior leadership team, those who work closest with y'all. And you may be interested to know that despite the storm that we just went through, you had a 76% return rate, which is phenomenal. And in back to the whole kindness piece, you may be interested to know that because of Helena, that the decision was made to give your people a couple of extra days to finish the survey, which demonstrated to me kindness and common sense. You know why I now said, okay, be sure you remember that big picture. All right, remember the big picture. You don't want to get too far down in the weeds. But looking at this graph, what do you notice about it?
Couple of things. Kind jumps out that there's nothing below an agree, not a single one. The future ready literate jumps out because it has the most at a disagree or strongly disagree. So I tend to look for the extremes. Those are the two extremes that jump out to me.
So let's talk intentionality. What are your positives? And how did you make that happen? How did you intentionally make that happen? These results don't just happen. How are you intentional about making them happen? What are your positives, and why are they positives?
I think it keeps going back to the fact that we do communicate so well with each other, but also, you know, with Dr. Postawait, she's always available and jumps on anything we task her with. You know, morning, night, weekend, it doesn't matter. And same with Dr. Price. I mean, they're just phenomenal leaders. So it makes our job easy, you know, when something does come our way that, you know, we can get it handled. So the communication, to me, feeds into a lot of this, in my opinion.
I think the collaborative teamwork of this board resonates well within the district and within the community as well. I think we have led by example in that area. As Mr. Rice said earlier, that even when we disagree, we agree to disagree. There's no backbiting, or we are all here for a common goal, and that is to produce tomorrow's leaders. And I think we've done an excellent job of that over the last 2 years. And I think it's visible. I think it has trickled down, not only to the administration, but to the senior leadership team, to the principals, to the teachers, all the way down. And I think that's commendable.
I mean, I see a strength also, independent learner. That's our highest strongly agree that we received, and kind of reading with what you've given us here, says the board's curious and interested in the work of the district, schools, employees, and students, asks questions, and seeks to understand in order to make informed, judicious decisions. And I think that really does model this board. I mean, whether a person is given a presentation on academic data, or whether they're coming in back and they're talking to us about, athletic needs, or even if we're celebrating people for achieving different things academically, sports-wise, anything, it seems like we collectively as a group always ask questions about, hey, Dr. Postaway, is that something we always do? Is that happening at every school? How did they accomplish this? Or how are we supporting them? Or, I mean, even to the minor thing like an archery team taking a trip, and we're like, well, we're approving that, but that's listed under academic versus athletics. Why is that? And having the district staff share with us and explain that. I think I know at least the 2 years I've been on the board, every meeting we model that. And I don't think anyone feels that asking questions is not received well. And I think if we model that, then the people in our schools and in our community, I think they go, well, the board asks questions, I'll ask a question to the board. Or it's okay to ask a question at school, or to ask a principal, or they may ask Dr. Postaway personally, and she responds back to them. I don't know how she responds back to people so fast, but she just does all the time and continues doing all of the rest of her work. But I think we've modeled that, and that's one of the reasons I see that independent learner probably being as high as it is.
And I would just add that we call that mirroring neurons. Sometimes teachers don't like when we say that their classroom takes on their personality, but it really does. A school takes on a principal's personality, and district takes on the superintendent's personality. And Mr. Rice, you're absolutely right. When you model appropriately, when you see what can be and you behave in that way, then you are more likely to be able to make it happen.
Well, and I'll just add to that too. I mean, just looking at, even though communicator was the lowest aggregate, the agree is the highest one up there. So and actually the communicator thing is always, I think that's the way people feel about communication. There could always be more. I think that's what that says, that no matter how much you communicate, no matter how many newsletters you send out, Libby, there could always be more. But one of the things that I've talked about with other board members in other districts around the state, just over the last 4 years, when being a school board member has been challenging in a lot of places, and talking to superintendents and staff, that when the board is working well together, and like Ms. McCown said, we don't necessarily always agree, but we have impassioned conversations and discussions about things, but they're always civil, and they're always effective, and conclusions are reached, and then everybody is on board with those decisions. That kindness and collaboration, it makes it, to go back to our board goals, the systemic working environment and framework, folks can do their jobs when they're not worried about what's happening at the top, when it's not just constant drama and what's going to, I'm tired of teaching in my class today because I stayed up until 11 o'clock last night watching the antics in the board meetings. And so when we can be professional and do the job that's before us in a civil, productive, effective way, then it creates that atmosphere and culture that we want, which is there's joy in their day when they go to school because they're not worrying about what's coming around the bend or some gotcha that's coming. And I think that's another thing that this board is very good at, is not gotchas to each other. And you see that so much with boards. And we're very honest. We pick up the phone and call and we talk it out, and we talk it out during our meetings just to set that tone. And I feel like all of these, there's just that just kind of runs through all of the responses, that there's just everything, again, like everything could always be better, but if there's contentment, then it's easier to do your job. And so I'm encouraged by this.
Which is a perfect segue for my next two questions. Do you see any areas of growth? And if you do, what might that look like?
I'm going to actually start with a question before answering that. Are these all the comments?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm a person that takes a little while to process stuff, so that's why I'm just sitting here reading through
I'm
it.
going to summarize that for you, if that helps any.
Yeah, no, so 30 people responded, and you said it was a 76% response rate, so about 40 people, I guess, given the survey. As a student and a learner, I was definitely someone who liked to get A's and hundreds and stuff, so I'm looking at this and I'm just thinking, okay, y'all, how can we improve these disagree areas? So, okay, but back to her question. Yes, go for
Okay,
it. Yes,
all right.
thank you.
So again, when I read
Powers.
this, what I see is we need some attributes that we're doing well that we need to continue doing is staying kind, because again, I think that resounds through this. Stay informed and curious. So again, I think our evaluators, our senior leadership team and principals applaud our curiosity, and then stay in dialogue and collaborative. So again, I think those were the three things that kind of elevated it. They said, board, you're really doing this well. If you look at the comments though, the areas for opportunities, we have currently a senior leadership team member who doesn't feel safe and it feels disregarded when certain board members check behind their staff's every move. So again, I think I think that trust but verify is valid, but ultimately this room is filled with professionals, and I think again we need to give those professionals their due. Because I think that fourth comment down is speaking to growth, but areas for continued growth. And then again, I think our agenda and our focus needs to be set by our strategic plan. Again, what is happening in our, and then things we get notified by constituents. I think those are important issues. I'm not trying to diminish that, but there are avenues to deal with them. It's kind of like personnel and student issues. We don't do citizens participation because that's not respectful to those team members. So again, I think constituents' needs, we need to answer. Again, I'm not trying to run from that, but a board agenda should be driven by your strategic plan, or else you'll lose focus on those strategic. So again, y'all will have to struggle with that as a future board, but that would be my coaching. So.
Are you looking at the fourth one down? I think
Yes.
she's saying, or he or she is saying, I have felt much safer speaking up when
then
questions are posed.
But when certain board members check behind the staff's every move, that sounds like it's still active.
I see.
I mean, I think all of us have had people who didn't trust our competency, and that's insulting. So, I mean, I can appreciate that comment. I mean, I've had events in my own professional life, and, it is what it is, but I can understand that frustration by the team member.
Well, and honestly, to go back to our board goals and the board's role, we trust and we ask the superintendent to verify. The verification, I mean, we have one employee, and they're the one that we trust, and they're the one that verifies on our behalf and then reports back to us. And so I think that may be what that the tone of that is.
Well, and they finished that we have grown, but again, I think that's also a warning and a plea is please keep growing. I mean, I think that's what that team member's saying.
My word for my life as I've gotten older is this word balance. And I think there is a balance to strike with this, that we are seeing that they like our curiosity. They want us to learn and to understand and seek to understand. But there is a way to go about that recognizes and appreciates the experience and expertise of the people who are doing the work, while understanding the appropriate amount of detail that's necessary to do our work. So I think there is a balance to strike there.
Well, and one growth area for us as board members may be just because a mistake or an event happens in the district doesn't make us responsible. And so it takes a little while to get there in your head. Ultimately, though, we are responsible for everything that happens in our district. But because a team member didn't follow a process or structure that we had clearly defined by policy, doesn't make us responsible for it. So I think if we can give each other grace for that as board members, it may create space to deal with the issue, but it not be as charged emotionally or personally as sometimes, because I get it, it's personal when it's your child or your spouse or somebody you love. But,
And I would love I'm just puzzling over the future ready literate. I would love to sit down with the responders and say, okay, so what does that mean for a board to be future ready literate? Because I think we know what it means for students, and I think we know what it means for teachers, but I don't really know what that.
so
What-
read
Well,
the
even,
description.
we understand what that means even for the building administrator, the principal.
If you read that, the board effectively evaluates information received from numerous sources and makes informed decisions. I think what they're saying is we kowtow to the loud minority or not fact-based information at times. It's the informed decisions that best support the mission of Lexington One Schools. So again, it points back to our mission and our strategic plan, and is our information informed in how we make our decisions? Or are we just being reactionary to the loudest cry, so to speak, is the way I read that.
And I think that actually, I'm glad you said that, because I wasn't really thinking about it that way. I was thinking more of being technically savvy and things like that. But I think that this is maybe kind of in future ready literate is we need to teach our children, our students, our teachers, ourselves, how to filter misinformation and the loudest voices, and making sure that we are guiding the district using the voices that are knowledgeable and will lead us in the right direction rather than just the loudest voices.
Yeah, I would have titled that informed decision makers instead of future reading literate. But I think when they got the survey, they read that description and then made a decision based upon that, would be my perception.
I think, well, they're using the profile of the graduate, right?
Right.
So they're using those.
The profile.
Okay, well, that's fair.
I have two final questions, just to kind of help us refocus. What did we do tonight? What did we do tonight? Listen to that verb. What did we do? What did you do?
Provided feedback to each other.
Exactly. What else did you do?
Listen.
Listened,
Reflected.
reflected,
Communicated.
communicated in a kind and civil way. What worked? What worked?
All of those things.
I'm sorry,
All of those things.
all those things?
The flow of information down and up between the administration, the board, and the administration. It's very open, it's very clear, and I don't think that anyone is afraid to express their feelings in either direction. And having worked in the district, as you have, that has not always been the case. And I'm really happy to see this comment that I feel safe in speaking up, because there again, it has not always been that way. We have employees that come to citizens participation. That's a huge, huge measurement right there, that you can come and speak your mind freely without fear of retribution, because fear of retribution was real at one time. So I think that even from when I first started on the board in 2016, I think we have grown immensely. I think that we had a stagnant year or two when we hit COVID, as did everyone in public education, but I think that we have consistently grown and improved.
Well, I think there's trust, and I think that's important. And I think, go back to the whole gotcha thing. I think we avoid that at all costs. I mean, I think that there's just a trust that I think just makes it possible to have honest conversations and disagreements. And I think that goes to Mr. Anderson's point that because there's trust, then our community trusts us to handle their concerns safely. I mean, or at least I hope so.
And, and to that, we all receive those phone calls, those emails, and we don't have to air that in a public meeting. You take care of your constituent, but you do it with a phone call. And I think that's important to keep things as they should be.
So you've seen your data, seen your survey results. You have answered the question of what did we do tonight and what worked. So Madam Chair, unless you have other questions for me, I'm going to bring closure. And the way I like to bring closure is to share this with you. I'm originally from Batesburg. My mother was a teacher, my dad was a farmer. He also hauled chickens. I can't say that everywhere, but I think here we know what that means. And at the library in Batesburg, every single week, they would allow you to check out 7 books. So I would read those 7 books during that week, and we take them back, and I get the next 7, and we take them back. So I'm an avid reader to this day. I love to read. And I will ask you, what are you reading? What's good? But I'll also go and I'll look and see, all right, what are other readers saying about this? Very easy to do, just Google, and this is what they say. And they'll say things like intriguing, mysterious, those kinds of words. So what I've done tonight is I've captured some phrases and some words from those comments so that people who are listening can hear what people would say about you if they were asked. So they would say, I'm proud of our board, that you are respectful of staff members. You're also respectful of each other. I would invite you to notice the difference between those, respectful of each other and respectful of your staff members. Proud to work and live here and to be part of the district. Appreciate the collaboration, advocates for the district, civil and professional, and we are fortunate to have a board that others should emulate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shealy.
Thank you.
Very much. All right, any other comments about our self-assessment before we move into the superintendent evaluation?
This has been great. We're at a unique point because at least 2 of us, after next month, will not be continuing with the board. And so for those who are staying, I would just encourage you, hopefully us, to constantly reflect back on this, because my hope is that next year when we do our self-evaluation that there will be improvements.
And this is the first time anything like this has been done, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm just really proud to, I feel like there's been a lot of firsts.
I'm thankful for the feedback too. Yeah.
Yeah, and not just this, but in a lot of things, in the way that we've conducted ourselves, and the way we've conducted meetings, and the way we've, gone about certain things. And I'm just really proud, and it's just really cool to see, because I mean, I saw how it was before and how it is now, and it's very different.
I think that Mrs. Green will agree with me on this, but this is our fourth board that we have sat on. This is far and away the best board that I have served on.
And I bet you never thought it would be.
Well, and I'll just kind of close the loop. I'll close the loop on the self-evaluation to just point out that, again, that this was us measuring or being measured against the profile of the Lexington 1 graduate. So this is what we have set as the standard for the students that exit Lexington 1, or that at any point in Lexington 1. Again, it's not an end goal, it is the profile, today, tomorrow, and next week. So just, I think that was a good measuring stick for us. All right.
Ms. Green,
Yes, sir.
I add one thing. I'm proud of the 360-degree review also, and I see we're framing it based on that framework. It's just as we continue, you won't have to worry about this, but as we continue, I think it might be worthwhile. That, to me, I look at it as an internal 360 feedback, but we did not really introduce anything external. Now, I'm not trying to get like the community. I know sometimes your critics will be the most people that will speak up, but I wonder if you want to get a true 360, do you need the people you work with the most in some kind of way garner outside? I mean, it's just a thought.
I think and that's something that the future boards can consider. I mean, to me, the community has lots of opportunities to provide feedback to us through emails, citizens participation, voting. I mean, to me, they have, and this is a group of folks that don't often have an opportunity to give us feedback, and they do, because they understand the strategic plan. I think that it's helpful for them to align, for us to see them align the work that we're doing with the work they're doing. So, but I think that, it could definitely be expanded.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I just went through one at work, and so my subordinates and my superiors and my coworkers all chimed in. So it was kind of, you're getting people you work horizontally with, you work vertically with. So I was just wondering about that.
And this was just the initial foray into this, so it can, you be sure to bring that up.
Okay, got that in my notes.
And then, Madam Chair, I'd like to thank our principals who do come to our school board meetings, because obviously they have 12, 14-hour days, but they could not complete this if they were not with us and paying attention to what was happening at the board level. So again, there's been a change there too, and I'd like to thank all of our principals for their presence.
Thank you. All right, you all ready to move into the superintendent evaluation? All right, so everybody should have a copy of the superintendent evaluation tool at your desk. And so we're just gonna have a period now of opportunity to share feedback with Dr. Postlewaite on successes, opportunities, challenges. You can speak to any of the points in the evaluation tool that you would like to. I know Mr. Rice came prepared. But anyone, and again, this is also just a conversation, so feel free to jump in, whoever wants to go first. Or if you'd like, I can just go around the room. How would you like? Do you want it more organized, or do you want it more free form? We'll start with Mr. Rice.
Put me in the hot seat.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Let's talk about, I'm just looking at my ratings here. I would say we can talk policy and governance. I think, Dr. Postlewaite, you've done a great job. I looked at how, you have not only said it, but I've seen it with your actions where you've said to us, the policies that you all define is how we as a district conduct basically our day-to-day affairs. And so some people can say that to you, but then could kind of have a mindset like, well, I'm the superintendent, you know, I'm the person that's in charge, you know, I mean, but I think you've always had more of a humble, kind of graceful leadership. You're a very strong leader, but you're very humble about, okay, I know you're asking me this, but your policy says this, and so, you know, we need to hold to what your policy says. Now, if you guys want to talk about changing your policy, then I can change how we're doing things. I mean, we've had some candid conversations about that, but I've never felt that you were trying to say, you're just wrong and you can't do this, or I've done this for so many years and this is what I do. I think what you've done also with your staff is helping us with some of our policies that, not so much the B policies, because those are ours, but some of the other policies, helping bring things up to date has really helped us to become better. And so I think also doing it with a humble approach, yet a strong approach, has been something I really have appreciated. So I think I had you classified in several of these areas as extremely effective. I think my lowest ranking was very effective in all 5 of those. So I think you're doing a great job.
I'm going to call you the Velvet Hammer. The Velvet Hammer. You know, grace under fire, very effective leadership, communication to the board is excellent, and we've experienced all sorts of variations on that topic. I think that you lead with a certain style that is absolutely respected from the top to the bottom, and I think that is very commendable. I know that your relationship with the board has been exemplary. I always look forward to our calls, and I know that mine at 10 o'clock on Fridays is probably the most humorous part of your week, but I always look forward to it. I can't sing your praises enough. I can tell you that I'm excited that we have Dr. Price to succeed you, but your departure is going to be bittersweet. I will tell you that.
You definitely demonstrate an incredible working knowledge of education from the state level down into the classrooms, and you have a laser focus when it comes to improving education for every child in our district, and ultimately that's what we're here for. Just 2 things. One would be kind of a question possibly for the future, out of curiosity, and then the others is a comment. Really the only area when I'm looking through this evaluation tool that we might want to focus on, and I think we're planning to focus on, is related to facilities, the specific one that just talks about just coming up with a plan for maintenance and repair of our district, or looking forward to future growth and stuff. And I think that's probably an area that we all could really focus on some. But overall, I just have been incredibly impressed with your extremely effective performance. And I'm really thankful for you.
So, one of the things I value about you the most is the old adage, keeping the main thing the main thing. And I think we've seen that a lot this year as the laser focus in, okay, we have students, we need to get them caught up. We need to focus on instruction. We need to make sure that teachers are equipped and have the professional development and the tools and the right curriculum and the support to get them caught up and to get them where they need to be, because our scores are not where Lexington One's reputation is. And that has been your focus this year. And through the program evaluation and the, bright, shiny new things are great. Those are for another day. Let's talk about the main thing. And I really do appreciate that, because the job is students, and the job is their learning and their success. And so I really appreciate that. And it's serious work. And in the midst of all the serious work, there's still all the peripheral things that are managed all day. The buses, meals, the athletics, all the programs, the constituent questions. I've never heard you say, I don't have time to do that. You managed to do it all. You have been responsive to us, so we laugh about this, that who would have known 2 years ago what board brief would become? And, it doesn't matter, the board will say, something, we should start adding that to board brief. And it's become an important communication tool to the board, but it's also become a very important communication tool for our community, because a lot of folks really are very focused on that board brief. And it's good information, and I just appreciate the fact that you understand our role as a public service organization for transparency. You are transparent with the board, and you're transparent with the community. And I think that goes a long way to the point about trust, and that the work we're doing is important, and you understand that, and we don't have time to play games. And so here's the information, and all right, I'll see you on Monday. And so I just really appreciate that. I will appreciate the fact that you complied with the contract requirements and assisted us in hiring a superintendent-elect. I think that is, I'm excited about what's to come. I am excited, and I'll tell you that this has come out talking to other board chairs and board members from around the state. They're like, how did y'all do that? That you got Dr. Postaway and Dr. Price at the same time working together. And so I'm excited about, because Dr. Price in his own right is an accomplished and successful superintendent. And the fact that he is able to spend a year absorbing your career-long success and knowledge and wisdom, I think is just going to set Lexington One up for incredible strides. I mean, sometimes when you get going, I'm not a runner, but you get going and it's slow, and then you hit your stride. And I feel like Lexington One is really about to hit the getting going part is almost done. And it's not done yet, but it's almost done, and we're about to hit our stride. And you'll be sipping cocktails on the beach, and he's going to be carrying the trophy. But no, I just really appreciate what you have done to position us to return to the excellence that Lexington One has always been known for. And I'll just say, so, as I'm flipping through this rubric, I'm like, oh my gosh, and I created this, and I'm like, why is this so long? But there was a period of time where this was necessary, but through that transparency in your communication and the work that you do, all the things that are the performance indicators that are in here, you provide those to us in our weekly phone calls, in our board briefs, and monthly in your superintendent updates. So to have a post-mortem at the end of a year using this is not necessary with you, because you have been populating this information for us throughout the year. I mean, and we do the mid-year reviews at your request, and we've done 2 of those for the last 2 years. And so to me, this is just your evaluation is more of a formality, because our policy requires it and your contract requires it, because you keep the board and you work with us, and you ask us, are you getting what you need? What else can I provide? Here, you didn't ask for this, but I think you'll find this very helpful. And you give information to us that enables us to be able to answer the questions in the community and to be knowledgeable when we have to vote or make decisions. And so, I very much appreciate the work that you do with us.
So I feel like when you started, some of the key things that we really needed was structure, systems, alignment. We needed somebody who was a good change manager. And I believe that you have done all of those things, and some kind of concrete examples of that kind of goes through this rubric a little bit. Doing the curriculum audit to understand what we needed with our curriculum in order to kind of centralize and align our curriculum with testing and make sure that everybody's kind of trying to teach the same thing. We're not there yet, but we've started the process. Also, the program evaluation process, very much needed. Also, aligning our budget with our KPIs, with our resources, that is in process, but we're starting to get clarity around how all of that aligns. And so you have done a great job of starting that flywheel effect of getting those systems and processes in place at a time that we absolutely needed those things. At the same time, you're a very effective, transparent communicator. So back to what, I've heard previously, the board briefs, the weekly phone calls, if there's a question, I'm gonna answer that question, or I'm gonna find an answer to the question. You do a really good job of that transparent communication. Now, at the same time, from one introvert to another, we recognize that we're not gonna be the person who's standing up in front of a camera doing all the videos for the district. We may not be as out there in the schools as much as our extroverted partners would want to be out there. But that's okay, because you realize what your strengths are, and we needed certain aspects of your strength desperately to get our systems aligned and going. So I think you've done a really good job of that, recognizing what your strengths are and maybe what your strengths are, and that's okay. So great job.
So Dr. Postlewaite, it's been a great year, and I really enjoy working with you. I enjoy the dances of leadership. I mean, we all have dances with each other, and as a board, we're in a dance. But to watch you dance, both with me as a board member, with this board, with your community, with your senior team, it's fun to see, and I learn something every week from you. So I just want to thank you for that. What I want to applaud you on is I think you've reduced the noise. You've driven attention where it needs to be driven. You've brought back joy to our teachers. And our parents who are dropping kids off at school. So again, and some of it's just situation and the pandemic passing and that dust settling. But again, we could have still been stirring pots and focusing on noise instead of driving attention to what we value about our schools. So I think you've done that, which helps secure a stable workforce for us moving forward. I probably didn't give you and the district enough credit for the cultural change with my comments a couple months ago about when Devonna said that all of our teacher positions were filled. I attribute it to a slowing down in the economy. I'm now thinking it probably had more to a change of culture and driving teachers back to Lexington 1. So congratulations with that. So a good performance eval is never done unless we ask something from you. So my ask as a board member is, again, there are still some heavy rocks that we need someone to lift. As an established superintendent finishing her career at Lexington 1, I'd ask that you continue to push and lift those rocks, and this board is behind you. So thank you.
I'm not really sure what else to say, except I feel like when you came on, this district was operating much like a child would without a mother, and you've come in and just taken, this school district from like going really down. I don't know how else to say it. It was not going in the way that I feel like we are now. I feel like you've changed our trajectory completely. And a lot of that is the culture, but it's been amazing to watch you also, like he said, with your staff. Just the way that I see the way they look at you and the way that you look at them, the respect both ways. I think you help all of us to just rise above and, take the high road and be better. And I'm still trying to figure out how we're going to keep her. So I'm not sure about this, going away at the end, but I am extremely excited about the work that you're doing, and having Dr. Price, of course. But I think there's still, got to be somewhere we can put her. Because it will be a sad day for me to see leave. But thank you. You're absolutely amazing. I have nothing negative to say. I agree with you. The heavy rocks, of course, you know what those rocks are. There's still work to do, always. But I have full trust in you that those will be handled and we're moving in the right direction. Thank you.
Anyone, anything else? Mr. Rice?
Can I touch on one other thing? Communications and community relations. I continually get feedback, whether it's just parents or whether it is state representatives, people affiliated with Chamber of Commerce, other leaders. I've had several people when we talk about issues and I may say to them, oh, okay, maybe that's something we need to look at as a school district. I don't know how many times they've said, well, I've already talked to Dr. Postaway about that, and she's already told me she would handle this or look at that. And the community has a lot of confidence in your ability to drive to the answer, even if they don't like the answer. They feel confident that, what you see is what you get. And so one of the big things with the superintendent, I realize we're public figures, so a lot of times we have to deal with the public, but as a superintendent, you're the instructional leader, but you're also kind of that operational leader, but you also have to have a good relationship with the community. And I'm just saying, in the multiple circles I've been in, they're just like, oh yeah, I know if you talk to Dr. Postaway, that'll get taken care of. That's a resounding theme. And I think as a board, obviously, we don't have the overall responsibility of the day-to-day operations, but to know that our community is in favor of our superintendent and feels confident that you will take care of things, and we feel that way, I feel like that's a winning combination. And so kudos to you for however you deal with the community and deal with the public and deal with, even like our state superintendent of education. I've run into her at a particular training session, and she was like, "You Lexington won." Oh, Jarita, I love Jarita. I'm sorry, Dr. Postaway. She said, "I love Dr. Postaway. She's like, she's the best. She's wonderful." So I hear that everywhere I go, whether it's on a local level or wherever. So we're really going to miss you. I think it's a challenge to Dr. Price. I think of it as if it's a relay race. You're holding the baton now, and you're running to get us off to a really, really, really good start. Not put a lot of pressure on you, but at the end of this year, you'll hand that baton off. But I feel like Dr. Price also will be able to take that baton and keep us running in that right direction and help us ultimately win, which is to help our students get to where they need to be. So we appreciate you.
All right, board, any other comments or questions for Dr. Postaway at this time? All right. Do I hear a motion to enter executive session?
Madam Chair, I move that we enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters related to the superintendent evaluation and superintendent's contract.
Thank you,
Madam-
Mrs. Henson. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, before you, do you have a second? No, that was just the motion.
Yeah, let me get a second, and then, I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Now we do. Go ahead.
Thank you. I will comment on your comments later. Now that the most excruciating 30 minutes of the entire year for me is completed, I really appreciate your comments. I would want to say it's the board superintendent team, along with the men and women who are part of the senior leadership team, the principals, the teachers, and everyone else who makes the school system work, who deserve the credit. And I want to assure you that Dr. Price is a better superintendent than I. And so when you sit here this time next year, you're going to have similar and even more powerful things to say. So you have a great superintendent coming right behind me. And you'd think after 57 years, you'd get a few things right. So thank you. That was very affirming after, you learn things by making mistakes. So it was nice to hear the comments that are basically for other people and for mistakes I've made elsewhere that I got to correct here. But this is a great district, and it's been a privilege to be part of it. Before you go into executive session, I wanted to point out a mistake I made under the document. In the document I gave you, I will just explain to you what it is. I summarized some of the accomplishments under each of those standards. And under planning and assessment, I indicated that the facility and demographic studies were underway. The demographic study is well underway, but the facility study got held up. We're in the cone of silence, I believe, in the procurement period, so we'll talk to you more about that at our next board meeting. But I did want to let you know that when I wrote that, I thought that was true, but it isn't precisely true. And I just wanted to mention to you the report card reconsideration. We wanted to wait until we got the new standards in place and we were clear on the instructional strategies and the clear outcomes that we expected for students. And so you should, in January, receive the first report from a team that's been working on report card revision, and multiple stakeholders will be involved in that. So it's coming. We just didn't get it as quickly as you might have hoped. So, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
All right, any discussion about going into executive session? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. We will now enter executive session.
We would have a lot of events in the mornings. I would go to an elementary school, and we would just welcome all the students as they walked into the school. It was always a fun time because you just got to see the kids walk in with a big smile on their face, and that really brightened up your day. And then during the school day, you'd go around, do different events around the school, whether it was with the special needs kids or if it was a pep rally, anything around that sort. And it was just always a great time. And then at the end of the day, obviously, you have any sporting events, especially Friday nights with the football games. That was always a great time. You put on the suit, kind of put on the hands. With the head, you had these straps that you had to put on so it wouldn't fall off. So you put your arms through the head straps, put it to the body, and then once you put all that on, you put the feet on, and then you put the clothes on. We always had a zipper in the back of the shirts because Wiley was so big, couldn't get over the head. So you had the shirt, shorts, and he didn't wear shoes. He was just letting the dogs out.
The mascot program has been something that we have taken a hold of and made it a very important piece of Lexington High School, and the kids that are involved in it, they love that they're able to be in costume and nobody know who they are, but they're still able to be involved and have some fun.
As it was almost like you were a superhero. Nobody knew who you were, nobody knew your identity, but yet you were doing so much stuff in the community, and you're getting out and just seeing so many people. I was sitting in the hallway before we graduated, and Miss Izzy came up to me. She gave me the hands and the feet, asked me if I was ready, and honestly, I wasn't. I didn't want to let it go, but I was also ready to show everybody who it was. I put on the hands and feet. I got a picture with her. Everybody around me was kind of in shock. They're like, "No way, you were wild." I should have known. And I was just getting all sorts of different responses, and it was just really fun. And then you finally walk out into this big stadium, and not everybody knows yet, but you're kind of like waving around. People kind of start like pointing, looking. And then whenever you finally walk across that stage, you know, get some cheers, get some noise from the crowd, and it's just really cool to finally show everybody. Give it your all every single time, even on the days that you don't feel like it. Give it 100%. Go out there, make somebody smile, make yourself smile, have a great time, and just really do cherish it.
For me to be graduating, I'm feeling excited but nervous at the same time because now I know that I've actually got my GED. It's something I've always wanted in life.
This program has impacted me just by showing me that I am capable as an individual of having an education.
It impacted me in a very positive way. I ended up actually, I go to Midlands right now. I just finished out this last summer semester with a 4.0. And they really pushed me to know that I can do more. And like throughout getting the GED, like the classes and everything, they made me feel like smart.
We offer 3 major programs, and the first one is our GED program, helping students who were not successful in the traditional high school route working towards a high school diploma. They can come here and work on GED preparation and take the test here in our center. We also have a high school diploma program that students who are coming to us in that program, we're pretty close to finishing their high school credential credits at traditional K through 12 schools, and then they come here to finish up those last 3 or 4 credits or so. And then probably our largest program that we've got right now is our ESL program. These folks are non-native English speakers and working with our staff to improve their English language.
My experiences with program very, very good. I know a lot of things in this program, what helps me communicate with American people.
I feel more confident with myself, and that feels really good because before I couldn't do that. And now I can go like to buy food or gas, and I don't use my phone anymore.
This program is very useful and great, very great. The teachers are extraordinary.
This year we served more students. We served 491 students here in this program throughout our GED, diploma track, and ESL program. And if you look at that in terms of some of our high schools, some of our smaller high schools are right around that same number, anywhere from 500 to 700 or so. So we're almost like a small high school here.
The program impacted me because I know now I can put my mind to anything that I want to do or any goals I want to achieve in life.
It's just awesome. The people are great. They're, like I said, they're very warm, welcoming, inviting. They made me feel smart. I never felt so smart in my life until I came here.
I feel like maybe there's someone out there who feels similar to how I felt, and I'm excited to like show people that you can do it and you can be successful.
We, the members of Lexington County Council, do hereby heartily congratulate Lexington Technology Center on its monumental 50th anniversary.
50 years at LTC means to me the history of something that's very deep and very widespread. It's a group of people that were my mentors, my teachers. So therefore, it also represents to me my journey to become an educator.
The time I was here for 32 years went by very quickly. Had the pleasure of hiring many former students to come back here and teach and work. But of the 50 years, everyone was committed to help students learn and find their career goals. And that was the whole purpose and still the purpose of the Tech Center.
There are numerous healthcare workers at all levels who came through our programs. They are located at Lexington Medical Center, Prisma Health, various private practices. We have former students that are working and leading in manufacturing at Michelin, at Nucor, at D&T Steel, CMC, Apex, Palmetto State Armory, and the list goes on. We have mechanics and repair workers that are almost at every automotive shop up and down 378.
Lexington Technology Center has certainly changed over the years, but there are some things that just don't change. The excitement that all of us have for teaching kids and for growing love of a career. The walls and the building, the size has changed. It certainly looks different, but it doesn't feel different to me.
That makes you understand that as an educator, you know, you plant trees. They say we plant trees whose shade we may never sit under. But I've been lucky enough to live long enough to sit under some shade of those trees. Today's program had Lee Barrett out there. He was an FFA president while I was here at the center. And now he's in the Lexington Sheriff's Department in a very responsible situation.
Our vision here is for our students to be leaders and innovators in his or her community and career. We want to send them out to make a difference.
There's some things over the 50 years that I feel like haven't changed. The people, the love for teaching a craft have not changed. I do expect there to be some changes over the next 50 years. I would say, you know, maybe we'll grow, maybe we add another career center. We have a lot of students who just really want to be here, and we want to have them here. And so, you know, growing as far as, and also adding programs. We have lots of businesses that so far we don't have room for, but that we would love to be able to provide them with students who are skilled for whatever their work is. And so I would love to see LTC to be able to grow in Lexington 1 to provide even more programs to our local businesses.
events. In the mornings, I would go to an elementary school, and we would just welcome all the students as they walked into the school. It was always a fun time because you just got to see the kids walk in with a big smile on their face, and that really brightened up your day. And then during the school day, you'd go around, do different events around the school, whether it was with the special needs kids or if it was a pep rally, anything around that sort. And it was just always a great time. And then at the end of the day, obviously you have any sporting events, especially Friday nights with the football games. That was always a great time. You put on the suit, kind of put on the hands. With the head, you had these straps that you had to put on so it wouldn't fall off. So you put your arms through the head straps, put it to the body, and then once you put all that on, you put the feet on, and then you put the clothes on. We always had a zipper in the back of the shirts because Wiley was so big, couldn't get over the head. So you had the shirt, shorts, and he didn't wear shoes. He just let the dogs out.
The mascot program has been something that we have taken a hold of and made it a very important piece of Lexington High School, and the kids that are involved in it, they love that they're able to be in costume and nobody know who they are, but they're still able to be involved and have some fun.
It was almost like you were a superhero. Nobody knew who you were, nobody knew your identity, but yet you were doing so much stuff in the community, and you're getting out and just seeing so many people. I was sitting in the hallway before we graduated, and Miss Izzy came up to me. She gave me the hands and the feet, asked me if I was ready, and honestly, I wasn't. I didn't want to let it go, but I was also ready to show everybody who it was. I put on the hands and feet. I got a picture with her. Everybody around me was kind of in shock. They're like, "No way, you were Wiley." I should have known. And I was just getting all sorts of different responses, and it was just really fun. And then you finally walk out into this big stadium, and not everybody knows yet, but you're kind of like waving around. People kind of start like pointing, looking. And then whenever you finally walk across that stage, get some cheers, get some noise from the crowd, and it's just really cool to finally show everybody. Give it your all every single time, even on the days that you don't feel like it. Give it 100%. Go out there, make somebody smile, make yourself smile, have a great time, and just really do cherish it.
For me to be graduating, I'm feeling excited but nervous at the same time because now I know that I've actually got my GED. It's something I've always wanted in life.
This program has impacted me just by showing me that I am capable as an individual of having an education.
It impacted me in a very positive way. I ended up actually, I go to Midlands right now. I just finished out this last summer semester with a 4.0. And they really pushed me to know that I can do more. And like throughout getting the GED, like the classes and everything, they made me feel like smart.
We offer 3 major programs, and the first one is our GED program, helping students who were not successful in the traditional high school route working towards a high school diploma. They can come here and work on GED preparation and take the test here in our center. We also have a high school diploma program that students who are coming to us in that program, we're pretty close to finishing their high school credential credits at traditional K through 12 schools, and then they come here to finish up those last 3 or 4 credits or so. And then probably our largest program that we've got right now is our ESL program. These folks are non-native English speakers and working with our staff to improve their English language.
My experiences with program very, very good. I know a lot of things in this program. what helps me communicate with American people.
I feel more confident with myself, and that feels really good because before I couldn't do that. And now I can go like to buy food or gas, and I don't use my phone anymore.
This program is very useful and great, very great. The teachers are extraordinary.
This year, we served more students. We served 491 students here in this program throughout our GED, diploma track, and ESL program. And if you look at that in terms of some of our high schools, some of our smaller high schools are right around that same number, anywhere from 500 to 700 or so. So we're almost like a small high school here.
The program impacted me because I know now I can put my mind to anything that I want to do or any goals I want to achieve in life.
It's just awesome. The people are great. They're, like I said, they're very warm, welcoming, inviting. They made me feel smart. I never felt so smart in my life until I came here.
I feel like maybe there's someone out there who feels similar to how I felt, and I'm excited to show people that you can do it and you can be successful.
We, the members of Lexington County Council, do hereby heartily congratulate Lexington Technology Center on its monumental 50th anniversary.
50 years at LTC means to me the history of something that's very deep and very widespread. It's a group of people that were my mentors, my teachers. So therefore, it also represents to me my journey to become an educator.
The time I was here for 32 years went by very quickly. Had the pleasure of hiring many, many former students to come back here and teach and work. But of the 50 years, everyone was committed to help students learn and find their career goals. And that was the whole purpose and still the purpose of the Tech Center.
There are numerous healthcare workers at all levels who came through our programs. They are located at Lexington Medical Center, Prisma Health, various private practices. We have former students that are working and leading in manufacturing in Michelin and Nucor, at D&T Steel, CMC, Apex, Palmetto State Armory, and the list goes on. We have mechanics and repair workers that are almost at every automotive shop up and down 378.
Lexington Technology Center has certainly changed over the years, but there are some things that just don't change. The excitement that all of us have for teaching kids and for growing love of a career. The walls and the building, the size has changed. It certainly looks different, but it doesn't feel different to me.
It makes you understand that as an educator, you plant trees. They say we plant trees whose shade we may never sit under. But I've been lucky enough to live long enough to sit under some shade of those trees. Today's program had Lee Barrett out there. He was an FFA president while I was here at the center. And now he's in the Lexington Sheriff's Department in a very responsible situation.
Our vision here is for our students to be leaders and innovators in his or her community and career. We want to send them out to make a difference.
There's some things over the 50 years that I feel like haven't changed. The people, the love for teaching a craft have not changed. I do expect there to be some changes over the next 50 years. I would say, maybe we'll grow, maybe we add another career center. We have a lot of students who just really want to be here, and we want to have them here. And so, growing as far as, and also adding programs. We have lots of businesses that so far we don't have room for, but that we would love to be able to provide them with students who are skilled for whatever their work is. And so I would love to see LTC to be able to grow in Lexington 1 to provide even more programs to our local businesses.
events. In the mornings, I would go to an elementary school, and we would just welcome all the students as they walked into the school. It was always a fun time because you just got to see the kids walk in with a big smile on their face, and that really brightened up your day. And then during the school day, you'd go around, do different events around the school, whether it was with the special needs kids or if it was a pep rally, anything around that sort. And it was just always a great time. And then at the end of the day, obviously you have any sporting events, especially Friday nights with the football games. That was always a great time. You put on the suit, kind of put on the hands. With the head, you had these straps that you had to put on so it wouldn't fall off. So you put your arms through the head straps, put it to the body, and then once you put all that on, you put the feet on, and then you put the clothes on. We always had a zipper in the back of the shirts because Wiley was so big, couldn't get over the head. So you had the shirt, shorts, and he didn't wear shoes. He just let the dogs out.
The mascot program has been something that we have taken a hold of and made it a very important piece of Lexington High School, and the kids that are involved in it, they love that they're able to be in costume and nobody know who they are, but they're still able to be involved and have some fun.
It was almost like you were a superhero. Nobody knew who you were, nobody knew your identity, but yet you were doing so much stuff in the community, and you're getting out and just seeing so many people. I was sitting in the hallway before we graduated, and Miss Izzy came up to me. She gave me the hands and the feet, asked me if I was ready, and honestly, I wasn't. I didn't want to let it go, but I was also ready to show everybody who it was. I put on the hands and feet. I got a picture with her. Everybody around me was kind of in shock. They're like, "No way, you were Wiley." I should have known. And I was just getting all sorts of different responses, and it was just really fun. And then you finally walk out into this big stadium, and not everybody knows yet, but you're kind of like waving around. People kind of start like pointing, looking. And then whenever you finally walk across that stage, get some cheers, get some noise from the crowd, and it's just really cool to finally show everybody. Give it your all every single time, even on the days that you don't feel like it. Give it 100%. Go out there, make somebody smile, make yourself smile, have a great time, and just really do cherish it.
For me to be graduating, I'm feeling excited but nervous at the same time because now I know that I've actually got my GED. It's something I've always wanted in life.
This program has impacted me just by showing me that I am capable as an individual of having an education.
It impacted me in a very positive way. I ended up I go to Midlands right now. I just finished out this last summer semester with a 4.0. And they really pushed me to know that I can do more. And like throughout getting the GED, like the classes and everything, they made me feel like smart.
We offer 3 major programs, and the first one is our GED program, helping students who were not successful in the traditional high school route working towards a high school diploma. They can come here and work on GED preparation and take the test here in our center. We also have a high school diploma program that students who are coming to us in that program, we're pretty close to finishing the high school credential credits at traditional K through 12 schools, and then they come here to finish up those last 3 or 4 credits or so. And then probably our largest program that we've got right now is our ESL program. These folks are non-native English speakers and working with our staff to improve their English language.
My experiences with program very, very good. I know a lot of things in this program. what helps me communicate with American people.
I feel more confident with myself, and that feels really good because before I couldn't do that. And now I can go like to buy food or gas, and I don't use my phone anymore.
This program is very useful and great, very great. The teachers are extraordinary.
This year, we served more students. We served 491 students here in this program throughout our GED, diploma track, and ESL program. And if you look at that in terms of some of our high schools, some of our smaller high schools are right around that same number, anywhere from 500 to 700 or so. So we're almost like a small high school here.
The program impacted me because I know now I can put my mind to anything that I want to do or any goals I want to achieve in life.
It's just awesome. The people are great. They're, like I said, they're very warm, welcoming, inviting. They made me feel smart. I never felt so smart in my life until I came here.
I feel like maybe there's someone out there who feels similar to how I felt, and I'm excited to show people that you can do it and you can be successful.
We, the members of Lexington County Council, do hereby heartily congratulate Lexington Technology Center on its monumental 50th anniversary.
50 years at LTC means to me the history of something that's very deep and very widespread. It's a group of people that were my mentors, my teachers. So therefore, it also represents to me my journey to become an educator.
The time I was here for 32 years went by very quickly. Had the pleasure of hiring many, many former students to come back here and teach and work. But of the 50 years, everyone was committed to help students learn and find their career goals. And that was the whole purpose and still the purpose of the Tech Center.
There are numerous healthcare workers at all levels who came through our programs. They are located at Lexington Medical Center, Prisma Health, various private practices. We have former students that are working and leading in manufacturing in Michelin and Nucor, at D&T Steel, CMC, Apex, Palmetto State Armory, and the list goes on. We have mechanics and repair workers that are almost at every automotive shop up and down 378.
Lexington Technology Center has certainly changed over the years, but there are some things that just don't change. The excitement that all of us have for teaching kids and for growing love of a career. The walls and the building, the size has changed. It certainly looks different, but it doesn't feel different to me.
It makes you understand that as an educator, you plant trees. They say we plant trees whose shade we may never sit under. But I've been lucky enough to live long enough to sit under some shade of those trees. Today's program had Lee Barrett out there. He was an FFA president while I was here at the center. And now he's in the Lexington Sheriff's Department in a very responsible situation.
Our vision here is for our students to be leaders and innovators in his or her community career. We want to send them out to make a difference.
There's some things over the 50 years that I feel like haven't changed. The people, the love for teaching a craft have not changed. I do expect there to be some changes over the next 50 years. I would say, maybe we'll grow, maybe we add another career center. We have a lot of students who just really want to be here, and we want to have them here. And so, growing as far as, and also adding programs. We have lots of businesses that so far we don't have room for, but that we would love to be able to provide them with students who are skilled for whatever their work is. And so I would love to see LTC to be able to grow in Lexington 1 to provide even more programs to our local businesses.
It's on now. Madam Chair, after considering the board members' comments regarding Dr. Postlewaite's performance, I move that we conclude as a board that Dr. Postlewaite received an overall extremely effective evaluation for the 2023-2024 school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Henson. Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Is there any discussion? Anything else y'all want to add from, other than what we talked about earlier? All right.
We wish there was a word above that.
Yes. We were looking for other adjectives, but extremely effective, really continuing extremely effective. So.
Super duper just didn't seem to fit for some reason.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the motion carries. Do I hear a motion regarding the superintendent's contract?
Madam Chair, I move that as a result of Dr. Postlewaite's overall extremely effective evaluation, that she receive a 3% increase in her salary effective July 1st, 2024, which is consistent with the percentage increase of district employees. I further move that we increase her annuity contribution by 2%.
Thank you, Mrs. Henson. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Is there any discussion? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the motion carries. Do I hear a motion regarding the superintendent's contract?
Madam Chair, I move that we grant Dr. Dorita Postlewaite's request that she be released from her employment contract with the district and accept her resignation from her employment with the district effective June 30th, 2025.
Thank you, Mrs. Henson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Is there any discussion?
We were wondering if we all voted against this, what would happen?
We really, really are considering that.
All right. This is a sad moment. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Reluctant ayes? Anyone opposed? One. Yes. All right. All right. And the motion carries. All right. Again, thank you for a great year, and we will, in the immortal words of Dr. Kyle Guyton, we are going to spend the next 9 months squeezing every bit of educational expertise out of you that we can. So, all right. Do I hear a motion to approve 8 student travel requests as presented by administration?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve 8 student travel requests as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mrs. Henson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Do we want, Ms. Gaskins, is there any information you want to share about these?
Not unless you have any questions this evening.
All right. Any questions, board? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the motion carries. Just as a reminder, our regular monthly board meeting for October is on October 22nd, so 2 weeks from tonight, and it will be held at North Lake Community Learning Center in their auditorium. So we hope to see everyone there. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any discussion? Thank you, everyone, for all the work this evening and the conversation and collaboration. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a great evening.